I'm here to save, myself and other people. So if I was in a situation where if I was in a sexual intercourse situation, I would not be forceful upon my um, partner.
Mhm.
So I would ask for permission. I'm not talking about like the whole planet, like I'm gonna save it like a Superman. No, not like that. I'm talking about myself. I'm not gonna put myself in a situation where I create a sex offense, is what I was talking about.
Okay. Now you said you're here. Do you mean that you were sent here by someone to save other people?
No, more like sitting here for a parole violation technicality on top of a new charge. So,
Okay.
with that being said, hope you understand that.
Uh-huh. The evaluator said that you told him, I am kind of like a savior and people are jealous of that.
So I've been idolized before as a leader. I did well with females growing up in
With
my
what? With
I
females?
grew up with females in my life, and I've always had good relationships with females. Um, I was once told, that I was like a ladies' man. So it's more like saying people envy me because I get numerous accounts of partners, and I think what I was regarding to is people doesn't do not have that type of lifestyle. So they see that in other people, maybe in court procedures, or maybe an arresting officer notice that um, I get a lot of attention from females, and I get in a relationship with females mainly. So I do good.
All right, so you're popular with the ladies and people
Yeah.
are jealous about that.
Yes.
What about this statement where you said, I am kind of like a savior? What does that mean?
So more like to say when people like females come into a situation where they're having maybe a problem with a spouse or someone else, I'm there to like to be there for them to pour out the problems to me. You know what I mean? To talk about it, and I'm just there to make them feel more cared about. So I give them that the attentive hearing, attention. So I pay special care to what they say.
So you're a good listener?
I am a good listener.
And so the question is, were you comparing yourself to Jesus Christ?
Not
You
quite.
said that.
Not quite. It's not on a spiritualistic basis. It's more on like a eye to eye level basis to where me and the conversation can relate to each other and have a type of mutual relationship to the point where we understand each other.
Okay, that's helpful to get your viewpoint there. Would you continue taking your medications in the future, or do you feel like you would just stop?
I really don't have a say if I could stop using any type of medication that's been prescribed to me by a certified like PhD, DR. I would continue taking medicine as long as it's prescribed in my name,
Even if you're
to
out of prison?
most likely out of prison. If it's recommended by doctors or maybe a nurse or a therapist to help balance the chemicals like in my brain to make sure that I'm stabilized and competent enough to live my life, then yes, I will continue taking medicine.
Okay. The evaluation says that you've had a long history abusing alcohol, meth, cocaine, and marijuana. Is that accurate?
It is to some extent. Like I started at a young age. I don't really use it on a day by day to basis or a week to week basis. It's more like a social happening. If I have a maybe like a partner, I'd go celebrate, the day like an anniversary type. situation, or maybe on a Friday night. It's usually a party night day for like the weekend. So I go out and maybe have a drink or two. I'm not a hardcore alcoholic to the point where I cannot live without alcohol or meth or marijuana or anything like that. I'm more of a tobacco user, and since I've been smoking tobacco before I was incarcerated, before I came into UDC's custody, it was starting to become more harsh to me. I starting to have displeasure and dislike. I didn't have the same type of experience with the tobacco.
So the drugs were no longer appealing to you?
Not quite. Plus, the tolerance level, it's more of an expensive habit. I don't crave any type of controlled substances, one or two, or any type of narcotics, to the point where I make it like a long-term goal, and that's not what I want to do if I was to be released or when I'm released. I rather I was focusing on more on like a career, getting a job and like settling down and just get rid of all the uncorrected, corrected. And that's why I'm proud to be here today, just to help you be corrected on where I'm coming from, so you can understand me instead of the paper statements, and just to let you know that I'm not just gonna go out and then just quit and start over again to be like a criminal. I don't like really being incriminated, profiled, or like labelized or anything like that. I'm more here to say that I am aware that I have a drug history. There was at a time, a violent history. It's not too much of a violent, it's really slowed down. I've made mistakes in the past, and it was mainly by order and more of like a secondary emotion that was kind of like a involuntary emotion.
Can I ask you about that? In
No
the
problem.
evaluation, you said that the reason you had weapons in the past is you needed to protect yourself from others.
So I've had made statements that I do have weapons for protection. It's mainly because I was in a situation, I just ended up having them just to have them. At one time, I got caught with a gun, and I wanted to show one of my relatives, you know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, look, I have a weapon. I wanted to go show him. I wasn't intentionally going to like use.
Who did you need to protect yourself from?
If anything, if I was to protect myself or like my family, it would be from perpetrators who retaliate, who
Retaliate for
as in like aggravated assaults, murders, rapes, like child molestation, robbery, maybe harboring, as in like hostage.
Are there specific people who want to murder and rape you, or is it just general people out there?
Persona, I really don't know if anybody's out there targeting me to create a sex offense on my body or anything like that. But I mean, if that was the case, I'd probably report that to the authorities or the local law enforcement agency.
Wait, what?
Okay. The recommendation is that you complete substance abuse treatment. Are you willing to do that?
I have put on the Board of Pardons packet that I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, my number
Um,
is 63.
It should been on there, as you seen.
Right, but I wanted to ask you in person what your thought is.
Oh,
So you
is it
don't
like a
want to do.
drug rehab? Like for using?
So there's treatment here in prison for drug treatment.
Okay.
If the board said, hey, man, we want you to do this treatment, would you do it? Or would you say, no, I'm not going to?
Well, if that wasn't like the crime that I was involved in, I'd probably disagree. But I do have something to say. I did get a substance abuse course certificate made from the UDC and had a UDC staff signed off on that. These certificates are coming from, I think, Gunnison, CUCF. I have put that in the statements, as well as the DUI course. I've graduated that. That was, and I cognitive behavior. And then one of them that didn't have anything to do with the UDC, I think it was like breaking free, and it's talking about sobriety, about not using drugs or alcohol and being clean. I received those certificates in, I think, year 2023, I believe.
2023?
Correct. And I use those as a substitute for the case action plans that I think my correctional case manager had wanted me to do. With the Board of Pardons, I noticed that you guys wanted me to finish, work on gangs, mental health, I believe it was DUI, and a education course, which I have completed. It's on the blue packet as well.
And
Salt Lake
you've
County
sent us
Law.
those? Did you
Excuse me?
say that you sent us copies of those certificates?
Actually, I thought about that. Yes, I have from the last time I went to the Board of Pardons hearing. I believe it was prior to this one. And I've sent that to the Board of, I actually sent to the Board of Pardons in Murray, Utah.
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah,
building.
that's the right place.
So and that's where my certificates of completion will be at. As of right now, I haven't sent for them, but I've had send them to the actual Board of Pardons of Parole.
Okay, how is your mental health now?
I've been seeing therapists. When I usually have a hard time when I go through distress and I go through agitation, I usually put in an ICR request to go see a therapist, and I'll let the therapist know what's going through my mind. You know what I mean? If I feel agitated or if I'm feeling like I'm having mixed emotions or anything like that. And usually the therapist will prescribe medicine. I am also taking a medicine called Propanol. It's for anxiety, and it's for the situations, you know what I mean, of that, what I've been going through in my life. And as of right now, it's still continue. I use that to help balance my anxiety, so I'm able to cooperate and not be so nervous or anything like that.
You feel pretty stable today?
I feel stable.
Is there anything else about the psychological evaluation that you want to comment on?
As I have right here on a psychological evaluation, I had to put in a grammar request to the government. It says right here through one of the doctors for an assessment right here, schizoaffective type schizophrenia assessments is as of December 29th of 2023, it says deteriorated by Irene Krasnova. That's one of the therapists I was talking to. I'm thinking that the assessment, I don't know if it's saying that my schizophrenia is deteriorated or the schizophrenia is so bad that it's deteriorated. I'm thinking that I'm more cured because I've been taking medicine for this schizoaffective type schizophrenia. It says the assessment right here.
Okay, I understand that point. Any other comments you have about the evaluation?
Other than that, I've had put in for it. I've had been assessed by Utah State Prison psychologist. He has actually given me this diagnosis. I don't know if it's actually a complete diagnosis. I never heard such of a diagnosis of a schizoaffective, because when I was asking the psychiatrist, I said, "What is this diagnosis that I have?" He was saying, "You're kind of like, you're pretending, you know know what I mean? You wanted attention that you had a mental illness. It was when I was doing the testing. I was testing for for mental health psychological evaluation. I think it was back in like 2009, 2010. And I didn't qualify to be full-blown schizophrenia. So he was more like saying playing a part as affective, not as an effective.
So the diagnosis is incorrect?
It's more like saying it's a borderline. It's not an actual full diagnosis of being mentally ill. As of like right now, and that I'm giving you the information that the Dr. David Egley has given. He's with the mental health, and he works with the mentally ill, as well as Dr. Francis, who is a psychologist for diagnosing people for a illness,
Okay.
for the mental.
Thanks for telling me that. We need to wrap things up here.
Okay,
As you know, you don't receive a decision today.
okay,
At least 3 members of the board must agree on whether to grant parole or have a rehearing or do something else. You
okay.
understand that?
Did anybody have send a copy of the parole and condition agreement for special conditions for August 2021 before I came here, as well as the new crimes? I tried to make a correction about it. One of them is actually a parole violation technicality, and the actual one was actually like a query dispute, like violence.
Uh-huh.
I had two, it was two be misdemeanors, 6 months each. One was like a simple assault. The other one was, I think it had to do with like intoxication, but the possession of dangerous weapon by a restricted person was a part of violation of 1 and 2 parole special condition agreement. I just wanted to make that correct,
Okay.
so you're aware of that.
Thanks for making me aware of that. Do you want the board to go ahead and make a decision, or do you want us to wait for you to send us letters or paperwork or anything else?
I'd like for the Board of Pardons and you to make the decision.
Okay, we'll do that. I appreciate you speaking to me, and we'll conclude the hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I may also say one more thing. I'm hoping for like a termination, like probably for the next parole date.
Let me ask you this. Your sentence expires October 12th, 2026. Are you saying you want to just remain here until then rather than parole?
I don't know how long it is for a termination, but if it's pretty soon, I would probably like to remain, since I've done more than about 50 to 60% of my sentencing of the crimes.
So, you can stay and expire October 12th of 2026 or try parole again. Would you rather just expire and be done with it?
Well, I'm gonna go with the parole. I'm just gonna go with the parole.
Okay, thanks for telling me that.
You got me there. Thanks.